For joining today. Hopefully this will be our last one, our last live stream on this particular portrait. So if you're joining, I'm so excited that you're here today and you're going to join me for the final touches, these finishing touches that we can make. So it's exciting. All right, so I've just got my drawing up here and I need to sort of just think about it as its own thing now, its own piece, and is it going to convey what I want it to convey on its own rather than looking at the reference photo and thinking about, you know, the comparisons between the two. I do have a reference over here, something else I wanted to look at before I was done. Few different things that I've printed out just to be able to see some of the shapes. And I'll just put this over here. There we go. All right. And as always, if you have any questions at all while I'm going through this, feel free to ask those. There's a couple of things I want to do before we're done with this portrait, though. Okay. I've got to look at those eyebrows and make sure that I'm conveying that the way that I want to before we're done with this. I'm excited about starting a new piece, and I'm not even sure what I'm going to start next exactly. I've got some ideas, but I am excited when you get close to being done with a piece. I get excited about going on to the next piece. Okay. So let's do this. Make sure this shape looks a little more accurate right in here. And then this comes up just a little bit. I need a little darker value right over here. Doesn't have to be a lot darker, just a little bit. And right in here. There we go. Okay, and then there is a little bit of lighter value right in here. I'll exaggerate the lighter value and then I'll tone it back down. There we go. That's kind of what I wanted right there. Okay. Now I want to look at this side. So we've got a little bit of an arch over here, and then this comes down. So it's a little bit brighter right in here, but there is a shadow. Use that ivory, something we've used pretty consistently in this piece. Here we go. Okay. Now I just want to kind of look around at everything and see if I'm missing anything. And I do see a little bit of a wrinkle right in there that I need to make sure I capture. Okay. This eye over here has been one of the most challenging portions of this portrait. The entire time it's been sort of a challenge. Okay, that's good enough. And I want to take an extreme red and just accent just a few little areas. Maybe even brighter than that. I'll use this Pompeian red. I'll sharpen that first. Just to add a little more color and visual interest to the piece. Right there. And let's see. Here in the lips a little bit. There we go. All right. Right over here. And maybe over here by the ears. Maybe down here. Okay. Now I could work a long time on that neck, and I could do a lot of things with the neck, but that's not the focal point. And it's way outside of, my interest to try to get the viewer to look at the neck. That's not my point at all with the piece. Okay. So I'm going to take a look at those eyes one last time. So I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit, make sure that those features of the face are really the focal point. And I think I'll go ahead and move the piece up just a little bit so that you can get enough of it included inside the frame right there. There we go. That's a little bit better. There we go. Make sure that I'm able to see everything. If I look around at everything, is it looking believable? You know, that's my main point with it. There's a happy balance between that we have to be able to strike as an artist between making something look perfect or precise, exactly like the reference, or does it look close enough? You know, that's one thing that I want to ask myself, you know. Hey, Ramona, how are you? Thanks for joining. Ramona is over on Facebook, and she is a member of the Sharpened Artist Academy. She's quite prolific lately. It's astonishing to watch how quickly she can start and finish new pieces. Something I'm trying to get better at, trying to improve at. I'm pretty slow typically. But she just did a portrait not that long ago. When was that, Ramona? It wasn't that long ago, I know. But anyway, thanks for joining today. She's over on Facebook Live. Okay, I'm going to add just a few accents here and there with blue. And for me, this is one of the most enjoyable parts of doing a portrait, is the final little touches, because you can add just a whole bunch of different colors, you know. And when you do that, it just adds a little more visual interest to the piece. A few more things to look at for the viewer. I want that clear separation on that nostril area right there. Oh, very cool. So Ramona said she did one on vacation. That's awesome. That's great. You got a vacation too. We need those, I tell you. I do. You need them to recharge yourself and you can come back with a lot of creativity and excitement for your work. Okay. That's a little too much right there. All right. Get some of that red in there. Here we go. And just looking around, and I want to make sure that I've got enough balance everywhere. This right here needs to be tapered just a little bit more, I feel like. There we go. And I feel like this could be a little darker. Nothing's right or wrong at this point because you're in the final stages of the drawing process. And so everything you do now is just sort of like a little bit of icing on the cake. And you're just putting in some final things. Let's see. It starts to get a little cooler right in this area. You can always make it cool in shadows. And where something starts to turn to a shadow. This is an area right here I could put a little blue in right there. Right here, certainly. I can do that. There we go. Okay. Now I just want to kind of step back and evaluate it, look at it, make sure this could be darker. Right here. I think there's something happening with the live stream over there on Facebook. I'm sorry, not Facebook, but on YouTube. The YouTube stream doesn't seem to be working. I'm not sure why. So I know most of the viewers are over on YouTube Live. So I apologize if you're watching this later then that it's not working over there. I'm not sure why. So, good morning, Peggy. How are you? Good to see you over here. So, all right, let's see here. I may actually do something with this background. I've been thinking about possibly using some very cool colors over there in the background and using the artist crayons Neocolor 2 and putting that in the background. That might be an interesting thing to do. Oh, you're in South Carolina, Peggy. Ah, interesting. Let's get some gray over here. Peggy actually lives in Cincinnati area. So I guess she's out of town for some reason. Okay. That was one thing that I saw that I wanted to improve a little bit. There's a ridge right in here that's brighter. And then this area right in here, it comes up. That angle isn't quite right, so I wanted to capture that angle a little bit better. It comes up like that. There we go. And you gotta grab that darker value, soften that back down just a little bit. Okay. There we go. Lost a little bit of those eyelashes right there. I don't want to think of eyelashes as little tick marks, but I want to think of them as like fuzzy types of things that don't have a definite start and stop. They do in reality, but from this zoom level, if I draw them that way, they might start, to look like, I don't know, a row of trees or something. So I want to be careful with that. Okay, I need that darker value up here where that curves back over. There we go. That's better than it was. Let me look at it. That white mark over here seems to be dominating a little bit. Okay. Now, let's see. I just want to look around. I can add a little hint of this red. Just kind of glaze it on right here just a little bit. Add a little more warmth in that area. There we go. Okay. This really should be darker. I made that really bright over here. If I want to darken an entire area like this, the whole area, the feature, I want those to be darker, all the values to be darker over here, then what I can do is I sort of glaze on a dark color, and it will just tint the whole area. That's a little bit better. Right up under that little ridge where the cartilage curls over the ear needs to be a lot darker in that area. There we go. It's a little bit better. I can get rid of some of that dust that's collecting over there. Okay. Okay, so I can keep looking around, seeing if there's any areas that start to stick out as an area to pay attention to. If you've not tried dark paper, dark sanded paper from UART is what they call it. They call it dark, their dark version. I think it's a fun paper to work on, although it's kind of a mind bender just a little bit, because you're thinking the opposite from what you're normally used to, where you're typically on white paper drawing the dark values. On this dark paper, you're often doing the opposite. You're drawing the light values in order to build up the form. So I want to kind of think like a sculptor most of the time when I'm on this kind of paper. And I'm thinking the opposite than what I normally do. I can add a little more of that middle value up here to get that to curve just a little bit more than what it is. There we go. Yeah, for some reason, this is still not streaming on YouTube, so I apologize for that. I'm not sure why that is. YouTube may have changed something. Sometimes that happens from time to time, and that's just the way it goes sometimes, unfortunately. So if you've emailed me and said, I thought you were going to live stream this morning, I did. If you were on Facebook, in this case, then you would have been able to see it right away. But otherwise, you'll get the replay over there on YouTube after it's ready. So, hey, Tony, how are you? Happy Monday. Okay. Yeah, so really for the background, I think I actually might use some of the Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons. And I'm trying to figure out what color choice to make, though. And I think it might just add just a little something to the overall portrait. And it's quick if you're using Neocolor 2, if you use water with it. You can use them without water, obviously, but you can use them with water and do something very, very fast. There we go. I want that highlight over here to stand out just a little bit more, so I can add this middle value, and it will help if I do that. So Tony is asking what kind of paper. This is UART 600 grit dark paper is what they call it. Have you used sanded paper before? And I'm using traditional colored pencils, wax and oil-based colored pencils. And I think we're almost ready to call it done. You're very welcome, Tony. Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're almost ready to draw the curtain and say, yes, this is done. We're not going to keep working on it. So, oh, cool. So Tony saying yes, loved it. I'm presuming you're talking about using sanded paper, so that's very cool. Yeah, once in a while I'll run across an artist who maybe has tried it once or has never tried it, but many have just attempted or tested with it a little bit, and they're discouraged with the way, thanks Tony, appreciate that, they're discouraged with the way that it has seemingly, eaten up the pencils, quote unquote. And, with regard to that, I mean, I used to think that as well, that, it's going to eat up my pencils, or that it does eat up the pencils, but it actually holds the pigment so well, and so you're really not wasting any of your pencils. It's actually utilizing the pencils much better than, say, a cotton paper does. Okay. Yeah, so we could just keep, working on this and going back and forth if we wanted to, but you get to an area where there is diminishing returns if you keep just working and working and reworking an area rather than just saying, okay, this is done now, and I'm calling it done, and I'm going to stop. And I think I'm at that point now on this drawing. Now I may come back in here and put a background in. Just probably a two-tone solid kind of color that will go from a dark area to a light area is probably what I'll do, and just create a little bit of movement in the background rather than what we've got here. And I don't know, I may keep it more of a sort of lavender kind of charcoal kind of color, something that will complement the background and add a little bit of color to it, not a lot. I don't want to take away any of the subtle colors that we've got up here in the face itself. So that's my goal with with anything that I'm doing, is I don't want to just detract from the main subject, which is in this case the portrait, the face, the eyes, that kind of thing. So I always want to think about that. I want to think about whether or not I'm accomplishing that, and it's not always as obvious as we think it is in the beginning. We can fire in a background that just becomes so distracting because it's full of all kinds of color or contrast with regard to the values. If I put a whole bunch of value, hard value separations in the background, if I have a very stark contrast between my light and dark values in the background and not in my eyes, or something in the background that overpowers that contrast in the eyes with the values, then where do you think my attention's going to go? It's going to go to the background, at least for a while, and then it may travel back up to the portrait or back in the area of the portrait. But why would I want to create something that competes with my main subject? I don't want to do that. Okay. All right, I am going to go ahead and call it done. Like I said, we could keep working on it a long time. There's diminishing returns, though, when you start to do that after a while. So it's not, it's not something that I want to do. I don't want to just keep working on something for the sake of just working it. Oh, you're very welcome, Tony. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming out here and expressing that. It means a lot to me to hear that. I appreciate it. And yeah, if there are no questions, then I'm going to go ahead and probably stop the live stream. Thanks, guys, so much for coming out here and being a part of this. I know some of you have been here from the beginning, so it's been really exciting for me to share this with you. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and stop this. You guys have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.